Welcome. If you're tuning in, chances are you're a seasoned pro, you've really mastered your area, but maybe you're hitting that wall. How do you get formal recognition, actual academic credit for all those years of expertise you've built up? We
Hmm.
definitely don't want to waste time, maybe 2 years, just relearning stuff you already know inside out.
Yeah, that's exactly the challenge we're looking at today. We've gone through quite a few sources looking into this strategic route called recognition of prior learning, RPL for short. And our focus today is really on how, high-level leaders can use RPL, specifically if they're thinking about applying to advanced programs, maybe something like the JammTrain.com Leadership Academy.
Okay, got it. So let's set the scene a bit. What is RPL? Not the dictionary definition, but strategically, what does it mean for someone listening right now?
Right. Well, think of it as maybe the best shortcut for someone who's already very experienced. RPL is basically the system, the mechanism that lets a professional, someone with the right skills, loads of experience in their field, maybe significant informal learning, everything you picked up actually doing the job, leading teams, hitting targets, it lets you demonstrate that competence formally. And the big payoff, you get credit, sometimes even advanced standing, without needing to sit through traditional courses covering ground you've already mastered. It's about making that on-the-job learning official, turning it into formal currency.
Yeah, that phrase, transforming undocumented experience into formal currency, that feels really key here. So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack the six main benefits that came up in our sources, really explore them strategically, show why this isn't just like a nice to have, but a genuine operational advantage. And we'll start with the most tangible stuff,
Mm.
efficiency.
Exactly. I mean, for any senior leader, the appeal of speeding things up, that's fundamental.
Right. Who doesn't want a quicker path to a qualification? So our first big benefit is accelerated entry and progression. What does that actually mean in terms of time? Are we talking shaving off a few weeks, or is it more significant?
Definitely more significant. You could be looking at months, maybe even close to a year sometimes. It really depends on the person's background, their portfolio.
Hmm.
Because RPL gives formal credit for your experience, right? So candidates can prove they've mastered prerequisite knowledge. That lets them skip whole modules, foundational units sometimes. It just drastically cuts down the study time needed for the whole leadership program.
Okay, so if a program normally teaches, say, Budget Management 101, but you've personally handled a massive P&L for the last decade, RPL says you probably don't need that class.
Precisely. You bypass it. And often it's more than just skipping one class. For really experienced leaders, this process might even give them direct entry into more specialized streams or higher level courses. They get to skip past the standard entry hoops that might otherwise hold them back in, the intermediate stages. It's like getting an immediate promotion within the program structure itself.
Okay, I definitely see the time saving, which leads us directly to the second benefit, and maybe the most compelling for many, cost efficiency. Now, usually when you hear cost efficiency, you just think, okay, lower tuition fees.
And that's part of it. Yes, that's the surface. Lower tuition costs happen because you're only paying for the parts of the program you actually need to take. So if you skip, say, 30% of the modules through RPL, you save about 30% of the tuition. Pretty straightforward.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But our sources were really pushing a more sophisticated financial angle here, the idea of reduced opportunity cost. Let's dig into that a bit.
Yeah, this is where the strategy really pays dividends, especially for high earners. Opportunity cost isn't just the tuition money you save, it's the value of the productive time you don't lose. Think about it. If you're a senior manager, maybe earning a high salary, every single week you spend sitting in a class covering stuff you already know. That's potentially thousands of dollars in lost output value you could have been delivering for your company or clients.
Ah, right. So finishing the program, say 6 months faster, isn't just about getting the qualification sooner. It means 6 more months of actually applying those advanced leadership strategies back on the job, and potentially getting promotions or bonuses sooner because of it. Plus, you're freeing up time you'd otherwise spend on, frankly, redundant learning. It really speeds up the ROI.
Exactly that. The quicker you can apply that new knowledge back in your workplace, the sooner the investment in the program starts generating returns. It makes the whole justification for the program, whether to yourself or your company's finance department, much, much easier.
Okay, so we've covered the practical side, time and money savings. Now, let's pivot a bit to the substance. How do you actually prove all this expertise? This feels like where it gets tricky, turning that, raw experience, the wins, the tough lessons, into something an academy can actually assess.
Right, and that brings us neatly to benefit number three. the core value proposition, which is the validation of professional experience. This is the process itself, where all those years of informal learning, whether it's self-study, managing high-stakes projects, whatever, get transformed into recognized academic credit. It formalizes your competence.
But how does a place like the JammTrain Academy formally recognize something like, I don't know, great crisis management skills or being good at motivating a tough team? You can't just list that on a form, can you?
Absolutely not. And this is where the rigor comes in. It's not just a claim. The process requires you to submit portfolio-based evidence. That's the key mechanism. We're not talking about just participation certificates here. We mean detailed, verifiable proof of your abilities and achievements.
Okay, give us some concrete examples. What are people actually putting in these portfolios?
Well, they're showing documented accomplishments. Think things like performance reviews over several years showing consistent high performance. Maybe case studies that detail project outcomes, like a turnaround project where they can show specific budget savings or, measurable improvements in team metrics backed by data. They might include things like 360-degree feedback reports, evidence of operational changes they led. The key is that the evidence has to be specific, it has to be verifiable, and it needs to clearly link back to established leadership competencies.
That sounds like it could be quite a bit of work up front, putting that portfolio together. I get the idea of saving time later by skipping modules, but is there a risk the application itself becomes so demanding that it kind of cancels out the time saved? Is this really only practical for people who are already super meticulous about documenting everything?
That's a really important question. And yeah, it's a strategic trade-off. It definitely requires effort and organization up front. You're essentially building a case like a legal brief for your career expertise. However, what the sources suggest is that for the kind of high-level professionals looking at these advanced leadership programs, compiling this sort of evidence, well, it's often something they're already doing, maybe for annual reviews or internal promotion processes. Plus, the process itself forces you to reflect deeply on your experience, which is a critical leadership skill anyway. So it's less like just paperwork and more like strategic preparation, a self-audit almost.
Okay, framing it as a strategic self-audit helps.
Yeah.
So once someone successfully navigates that, gets their experience validated, that leads us to the next benefit, which is personalized learning pathways.
Exactly. This is really the opposite of a one-size-fits-all approach to education. Because the Academy now knows, based on your validated portfolio, precisely what you've already mastered, the rest of your education becomes hyper-focused. The learning concentrates only on those areas where you still need development. You completely avoid redundancy.
So this system actively pinpoints those specific, maybe strategic competencies you need to strengthen. It's literally about bridging your knowledge gaps rather than making you sit through lectures on things you do every day.
Precisely. So if your portfolio shows you're brilliant at operational efficiency, but perhaps less experience in global market strategy, then your remaining coursework gets heavily weighted towards that international leadership, complex global economics, whatever it might be. The whole learning journey gets tailored to align directly with your specific career goals and where you need to grow next.
Right. Now let's shift to the human side of this. We've talked mechanics, evidence, pathways. But what actually happens psychologically when you tell a really experienced professional, hey, all those years you put in, they're now officially worth academic credit?
Yeah. That takes us to benefit 5, and it's one that I think is often underestimated. Increased confidence and motivation.
I can definitely imagine that. Getting formal recognition for what you've achieved. It's not just about getting a piece of paper, is it? It must be a huge psychological boost, like the ultimate professional thumbs up.
It really is. I mean, having a respected institution validate your existing skills, confirming that your hard-won experience meets their high standards, that can fundamentally change your mindset about the program. It's genuinely empowerment through recognition. You walk into the remaining modules feeling affirmed, ready for that advanced refinement, not feeling like you're deficient or need fixing.
Yeah, it reinforces that leadership identity you already felt you had, right? Makes you feel ready to tackle the next level of challenge. Okay, but quick question. If everyone's potentially skipping different foundational bits because of this personalization, does that mess with the group dynamic, the cohort experience? Do you lose that shared base that traditional programs often build on?
That's a sharp observation. What our sources seem to indicate, though, is that the architecture process itself acts as a pretty sophisticated filter. Only those who can really clearly articulate and prove their high-level experience get through this way. So it actually tends to raise the overall level of the cohort. The conversations don't get bogged down in the basics because everyone in the room, whether they used RPL or not, has been vetted for that advanced level of readiness. The focus shifts quickly to applying knowledge, not just acquiring it from scratch.
Interesting. So it kind of flips that potential negative into a positive for the overall quality of discussion in the cohort. Okay, finally, let's connect this back to the wider world. Why does this formal validation matter beyond just making you feel good?
Right, that's benefit number 6. Alignment with industry standards. The way RPL assessment works, it uses a very standardized, competency-based assessment framework. This is really important. It means the skills being validated aren't just random. They align with professional frameworks and leadership competencies that are recognized right across industries, often globally.
So the Academy isn't just saying you passed our internal requirements. They're effectively certifying that your skills meet the kind of standards that, say, major corporations expect from their senior leaders.
Exactly. The process ensures that your validated skills aren't just academically sound, but they are directly applicable to real-world leadership challenges you'll face, probably the day after you finish the program. It guarantees your skill set is current, practical, and meets industry needs. It makes you immediately more marketable, more impactful. It's like a quality seal for your leadership capability.
Okay, let's pull this all together then. We've walked through these 6 strategic benefits. It sounds like a really potent mix of, well, straightforward efficiency, saving time, saving money, reducing that opportunity cost, but also coupled with these really profound personal advantages, like getting validated, boosting confidence, and making sure the learning is super relevant, aligned with the industry.
Yeah, fundamentally, it's a mechanism designed to cut out the friction, the redundancy, for professionals who've already put in the hard yards learning their craft in the real world. It takes all that field expertise and gives it the formal recognition it deserves.
And the outcome, according to the JammTrain Leadership Academy sources we looked at, seems pretty significant when people successfully use this RPL pathway. They're not just getting a qualification, they're reporting measurable business impact quickly, seeing increased confidence in their teams, and generally boosting organizational confidence.
Absolutely. If you look at the bigger picture, RPL fundamentally, it respects your experience, it validates your past work, strategically cuts out the redundant learning, and really accelerates your future career path by letting you focus only on the knowledge gaps that truly matter for your next step.
It really does set the stage for that focused advanced development. So the final thought, the strategic question we want to leave you with is this. If you could actually quantify the value of your toughest, most hard-won professional wins, that crisis you navigated, that project you rescued, and then get formal confirmation that those skills already meet the highest industry benchmarks, well, how much faster could you really hit your next big career milestone? It stops being just about getting another credential and becomes a launch pad, really, built solidly on the successes you've already achieved.